So what we're doing is we're taking an old Dell Power-edge T20, which has a 3rd Gen Xeon processor, and we're going to convert this into a streaming and gaming PC. So the server that we're converting into a gaming PC is a Dell Power-edge T20. It has a quad-core Xeon E3 processor in it with 32 gigs of RAM, and then we have a capture card in there. What we'll be doing is we'll be taking the motherboard, the processor, RAM, the capture card, and the hard drives out, and putting it into a Phantux Eclipse, I think it's the 1st generation case, on top of putting a Gigabyte 1660 Ti overclock edition, 4 Noctua NFS 12A fans, a Deepcool Gimmicks GTE V2, and then a Seasonic Focus GX850, as well as a Deepcool fan controller. So first things first is I'm going to want to take the motherboard as well as other parts that we're using out of this. First, we're going to want to remove the RAM from the motherboard. Next, we're going to want to unplug everything. Take out the capture card as well. And then it looks like all of the power has been removed from the motherboard. That done, it's time to remove all the hard drive SATA cables, front I/O, may have just broken, and then this strange front I/O connector here. So I don't know if I can get the front I/O working on this new case. It's a front I/O, but it doesn't want to come out. So this is the connector. It looks like all you have to do is squeeze it and it comes out. So next is to get the motherboard removed. It looks like there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like there are 8 screws holding it in, so I'm going to do that next. Should be able to pop right out. Looks like it's almost out. I got some. Oops. All right, motherboard's out. Let's put this to the side. With the motherboard out, it's now time to remove all the hard drives, and then we're good to put everything in the new case. So let's get these SATA connectors out. Power. Pull them out of their trays. So we got 1 terabyte. Another 1 terabyte. SSD I put in there, janky like. And then a final 1 terabyte, which I need to remove the front panel to get that out. Screw right about here. This should just slide right out, I think. It should just go. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, slides right out. Back of it, we have another 1 terabyte hard drive. With that case out of the way, we're gonna test to see if the power supply connectors fit properly. Okay, so we got CPU power right here. We're gonna focus on we're gonna see if that fits into right here. I think, let's try this. So that one fits. All right, so that fits. Perfect. CPU power up top as well. Should just work with one of these. So this fits, then yep. So motherboard is compatible. Let's get this in the new case. Editor Mike here. I was wrong. We have to put the CPU cooler on the motherboard first, and then we can put it back in the case. Okay, let's get back to the video. There are typically 4 screws holding it in. Whoops. Make sure you hold your motherboard in place and not spin it around like that. Luckily this particle board is not conductive. Looks like it's starting to pop off. Luckily, these air coolers are pretty easy to take off. They're usually just some screws that are torqued in a little bit. Typically no mounting bracket beneath it, but just in case, I'd rather do this without. Ooh, that needs some new thermal paste. I'd rather do this without it being in the case. Alright, let's do this. So what do we got? Okay, so we got this RGB fan, nice. Pretty much, you can see the difference between the two coolers already, the size difference between them. So this will definitely cool our Xeon a lot better. Then we got bottom bracket, like I suspected, and it looks like that's it. So I'm gonna need this. Cool. Sweet. Let's get this on there. So it just goes on top of it like that. So let me get the screws in. Okay, so now all screws are in there. We're gonna put the spacers on now. So there are these spacers to prevent the fan from going too low. Put these spacers on. And then we'll clean off the CPU and mount the fan. You need to get your alcohol, a paper towel, and wipe off all the gunk on the CPU. Comes off pretty quickly. And since I'm not reusing my cooler, I have no reason to wipe off the cooler. So with that done, I'm gonna take your thermal compound, which I'm using the Cryonaut, a tiny little glob. I usually put too much, but let me actually dry that off. I see alcohol in there still. Okay, it's dry. Take off the cap, and then squirt. Usually I see people put an X, but I like to just put a little pea-sized thing like that. Stick the cap back on. Bam, it's done. Now what we need to do is peel this off. So that's pretty clean, right? Pretty clean bottom. Then we just stick this on. And perfect. Put the screws on, screw it down, and we're done. Okay, so that feels like it's on pretty good. I can lift it up, move it around. You can see that that's touching supposed to. Yeah. The next thing to do is to mount the fans. So we got 4 of these. We're going to put 2 in the front, 2 in the back, get these mounted. And the best thing is they come with these, so there's no need for any screws to hold these in. Let's get these mounted. Start by having a in from the front. So why don't you tell that there are sometimes, depending on the manufacturer, arrows on the front. Corsair does not have the arrows on it, at least not the Corsair ones that I've used, the ML140 Pros from a couple of years ago. So what do you do? See the arrows intake. So basically I'm going to have the fan mounted, that sticker inside, blades on the outside. What these rubber attachments do, at least from my experience, is they prevent fan vibrations. So your case won't rattle if your fans are getting too loud or too high. Like downside about all of this, so your fans can slide up and down like that. But from what at least from the case I'm currently using, it hasn't yet to do that for me. Ah, well, I pulled it out. So since I pulled it out, let me show you me doing this, and then I'll mount it up afterwards. Just do that. Pull it in until it pops in. So with all those in, orientate where it's going to go, and then just slide these, slide them through. Get one edge through, and you just pull it through on the back. you know, it works most of the time. Squish it up. Bam. Okay, so this one is almost properly mounted. Okay, so this one's properly mounted, and I'm going to do that 4 more times. I'll show you when I'm done. So the fan configuration I decided to go with was 2 pulling in from the front, and then having that going out the back and the top. So you can see that where the fans are configured, the stickers are pointing outward, so that means the fan's blowing outward. Because the stickers are on the inside, it's pulling in from the front. Next is to put the motherboard in, and then we're going to put the RAM, the graphics card, and the capture card in. Let's get the motherboard in. We're going to want to orientate this properly first. So be going back like that. Just got to move this out of my way. I'm tucking it over there towards the top. I'll slide this in to the correct position. Seems to be right about there. And now it's time to get the screws and just screw it down. We need 6 of these small little screws here. Just put them in the spots they belong. So we're gonna put the capture card in the bottom right here, and that way we can have the PCI Express slot open, because if I stuck the graphics card up here where it would typically go, it's actually blocking that port. We don't want that. Looks like, I swear I know how to put graphics cards in. Just this motherboard is it's not attached down here to anything. I actually don't know if I have the standoffs installed. I don't feel like any standoffs actually installed. That's my fault. There's no standoffs installed. However, it shouldn't be an issue once this is in place. The graphics card in place, which as you can see, it's not going to go anywhere. We're going to stick the capture card here into the capture card spot, and then we'll use an extra door for here. We're going to put the power supply in first. That way when it comes time to get all the cabling and done, this is already in. So we're going to just slide it in there, and on the back there are typically 4 holes that lines up with this. So right here we have one here, 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 and here. Sometimes your power supply will come with the parts needed, but I'm not going to use whatever came with the power supply. So with that in, we're now going to move to the back and get the fan controller installed. Installing a fan controller, you typically want to go to the back and find a spot where there's less stuff. So SSDs go here, and then hard drives go down. I'm going to put the fan controller right here, because the previous fan controller was here, which I removed. The fan controller comes with 2 things. I'm going to use it to plug into the CPU cooler, since I don't think the motherboard has any more. So we get the SATA power, and you get the cooler connector, and some double-sided tape. So we're going to take 3M double-sided tape, put it on the bottom, stick it there. Okay, so stick that right there. Peel off the other tabs. Okay, other tape's now peeled off, and we're going to stick this. So let me make sure, say this, it's the CPU fan. I'm going to have that pointed upward. And it's in. With the hard drives in, and with the magic of editing, I'm now going to get all the wiring done. It's been wired up on both sides. Only thing now that's left to do is to get the power switch and reset switch plugged in. The downside about this is that it's a proprietary connector. So if I can get this to focus in there, there we go. It's proprietary and it doesn't have any way to tell which one's which. So at this point, it's just going to be me guessing and pressing the power button. So let's give this a shot, shall we? Okay, so according to the side of the case for Dell, this here is the power switch, right here. I'm gonna plug in the power switch in however I can do it and see if I can get this to turn on without electrocuting myself. All right, first test. And not it. All right, I won't ever have to do it, but I might have to peel off the plastic. Since this is probably going to stay this way, I need to do now is that. Break off the plastic. So let's try that now that the plastic's broken. Maybe now I can get the power button in. Alright, that one's on. Nope, that's not working. So it's been a couple of days since that last shot you saw, and we ended up figuring out why the computer wasn't turning on. So what we ended up doing to test it is I plugged in the old power supply into the correct parts, so then the 8-pin here, 8-pin there, and I actually got the power switch working. What the issue is that the power supply we have does not turn on with the 8-pin, but only with the 24-pin. To resolve that issue, I ended up having to buy this adapter from, I think it shipped out from China. It is for Dell, mainly for Dell, where it has the 8-pin converted into the 24-pin power connector. So what we'll do now is we'll end up connecting it and seeing if that works. I also had to buy another adapter. It was right here. It's 5-pin to 4-pin. I don't think it's PWM fan connector. It allows the controller to hook up to the CPU cooler header to control all the fans. Let's pull this out. Here comes the ultimate test. Power supply is on. It is lighting up. Fans look like they're spinning up. Looks like the computer's on. Okay, so now all that's left to do is turn the machine off and then put the power supply in and cable manage everything. With the power supply installed and the cables managed properly, it is time to test this machine and see if it posts. Moment of truth, let's see if this thing boots up. Oh, I need to hit the switch in the back. That would help. Turns on immediately. It's turning on. Should go right into Windows. It's booting into Windows. Looks like you can convert a server to a streaming computer. Let's see the benchmarks now. Okay, so we're doing a gaming test here. This is Fall Guys, not a very intensive game. However, you can see that the temps at about 30% utilization is about 30 degrees Celsius. And the GPU at 2% is about 45 degrees Celsius. So as of right now, with just the game running, the temps are pretty stable. So after running 3D Mark Time Spy, the results are 4,892. It looks like isn't all too bad. There's the information for anyone wondering what I was using. And then we have the max temps, which are over here. So it looks like the max CPU got was about 47 degrees Celsius and 100% utilization. We got the GPU max at 73 Celsius at 35% utilization. Not too bad for a budget-oriented computer. Thanks for watching. This video was a ton of fun to make. It took a ton of time. If you would like to see more, stay tuned for future projects or check out my other videos. See you all in the next one.